it's Lindsay. Welcome back to The Wandering Reader. Today I'm going to be doing a review of When Breath Becomes Air by Paul Kalanithi. This is a non-fiction book that was published in January of this year, so it's a recently new release. And I've been seeing it hanging around in Waterstones and things, and then I saw it in my local supermarket for a bit cheaper, so I picked it up in there. I've heard quite a few people talk about it on BookTube, but I thought I'd do a review of it here. So this, like I said, this is a non-fiction book about a neurosurgeon. Paul Kalanithi is trained to be a neurosurgeon, so the first half of the book documents him on the journey to become a neurosurgeon. Why, it talks partly about his childhood and about why he made the decision to take particular paths when he went to university, and about sort of his training as a neurosurgeon and all of the stuff that kind of entailed. And then the second half of the book is about him as a patient. He was diagnosed with lung cancer, and it talks about his treatment and the flip side he was a doctor and now he's a patient, and about learning to accept his illness, accept his diagnosis, and live his life the best that he can. One of the things I loved about the book was the writing style. It's really beautifully written, and you might not expect that just kind of looking at the cover and the blurb on the back. But Paul talks about in here the fact that as he grew up, his mother encouraged him to read a lot of classics and things like that, and he talks about his love of literature throughout the book. When he's training to be a neurosurgeon, one of the things that he discusses is this idea of, one day I'd quite like to write a book. And this is so beautifully written. It's quite a short book, but it packs a real punch. There's nothing too kind of flowery about it, but at the same time, like I said, it's beautifully written. What's particularly striking about that is that Paul died in 2015, I think. So he lost his battle with lung cancer. And it's yet another example of a book that I've read where the author is somebody that died quite early on, perhaps in their writing career, and you just think to yourself how much of a shame that is, and he lost his life and that's absolutely dreadful, but how much of a great writer he would have been had he lived. And it's such a shame to think that we'll never be able to read anything else by this author. There's also, and the epilogue in this is written by his wife as well, and she kind of talks about his last days and what that was like, so it was nice kind of seeing things from her perspective as well. What was particularly poignant about this is that it talks about so many ideas of life and death. Paul didn't seem to be afraid of dying. He didn't seem to be afraid of going through the process of his illness. He must have been on some level, but he was really brave, and that struck me a lot reading this. He talked about the idea of doctors knowing that death is inevitable. Even when they help patients and do operations and the operations are successful, or give patients treatment and the treatment is successful, he talks about the idea of that's only prolonging life, and the idea that death will eventually come to everybody, which I hadn't really thought about that idea before. So that was really interesting. There's nothing I didn't like about the book. You would think that perhaps it wasn't long enough, because it's only sort of 200 odd pages, 225 pages or something like that. But like I said, everything in here was as it should have been. It wasn't flowered up, and yeah, I really, really enjoyed it. I've said this before, but if you're not really a big fan of non-fiction, this would be something to pick up, because it's not heavy non-fiction, and it's about a really interesting subject, and I think reading about someone's life in this way would be a good way of kind of getting into non-fiction. I think if you're interested in the idea of doctors and patients and the medical industry and the idea of life and death and I suppose the meaning of life and things, this would be a good one. But also, if you're somebody who reads memoirs or, you know, that sort of thing, this would be a good one to pick up as well. I ended up giving this 5 stars. I couldn't give it any less, really. I really enjoyed this, and I would definitely recommend it to anybody. Please pick it up because it is fantastic. So there you go, that was my review of When Breath Becomes Air. Have you read this book? What did you think of it? I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments down below, so please leave me a comment. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.